Welcome to the Waldorf Gridiron Club podcast, your home for all things football at Waldorf University, the best small college football experience in America. Hosted by Andy Buffington and me, Troy Thompson, from the secret gridiron bunker beneath Volsdorf Field. Now, let's meet the captains of today's podcast.
All right, welcome to this edition of the Waldorf Gridiron Club podcast. Troy, we're rolling through the season 2, and things are going great. We've had 4 different players on. We've had all of our coaching staff, including at the beginning of this season, or maybe it was the end of last season, Coach Finley, our former head coach. We did a season recap, so I mean we're just rolling along, having a great time, and we appreciate all of our listeners. And so tonight we've got an extremely special guest, Troy.
Very special.
And I'd have you guess, but he's sitting, immediately to your right. So
no fooling me today.
Yeah, exactly. Especially because you lined this one up. So kudos to you.
Correct.
Bro. All right. Well, folks, you're in for a treat tonight, or this afternoon, or whenever you happen to be listening, this morning in the bathroom. I don't know what you guys do. But we have the athletic director for Waldorf University, our own coach, Chad Gassman. Coach, welcome.
Thanks, guys. I've heard great things about this show, and
avid listener.
Yeah, well, we want to operate on integrity around here. So I've heard good things about it. I haven't listened, but I will start. And I appreciate that it only took about 50 episodes for you guys to ask me to do it. So
oh yeah. If it makes you feel any better, you were on the list.
Yeah. I've been on a lot of lists.
Right.
You and me both, Coach. You and me both. So, Coach, why don't you go through for our listeners a little bit, how you, from the time that you were a college athlete yourself to the career path and where all you went to end up heading up the ship here at Waldorf University Athletics.
It's funny. I kind of do this. Maury Tomke, one of the professors over at Waldorf, does a class. It's a sports management class, and he invites me in, kind of like what you're doing right now. And I board the class for an hour, and I start at my college life all the way to where I got here, trying to teach them hey, you got to be connected. You gotta don't burn bridges with other people and all this stuff.
Right.
So I won't bore you to that extreme. They seem somewhat interested while I'm telling the story, but
they're paying for it.
Yeah, they have to.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
They're taking avid notes. They're just writing everything you say down.
And then kids actually ask questions.
Yeah.
It's
what years were you at Judson, Coach?
Right.
That was from.
Yeah.
So I played college baseball, and that's a loose term. I wasn't real good, but I got a baseball scholarship to Morehead State University in Kentucky.
Which one?
Not the Minnesota one,
Okay.
the one in Kentucky.
Okay.
More.
Okay.
And I was kind of like a big fish in a little pond in high school, and thought I was good, but wasn't.
Where'd you go to high school at? Where are you originally from?
Cumberland Valley Christian School in Gettysburg, Chambersburg, Pennsylvania.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. So get to college and played a little baseball there. I was there for 5 years.
What position?
A pitcher, left-handed pitcher.
Wow.
Okay.
And had rotator cuff surgery my sophomore year. And back then, rotator cuff surgeries were kind of the kiss of death. So, but I had a great mentor, John Jarnigan, who's the head baseball coach there, kept me on scholarship. And then I became a student assistant my last 2 years. And that started my, whatever you want to call it. I was going to say quest, but that sounds
Passion.
Yeah.
Your passion for coaching.
Quest. But, passion for coaching, coaches, just athletics in general.
Right.
And so got done there and then went to Olivet Nazarene University in Bourbonnais, Illinois.
Yep.
Met a young lady who was the graduate assistant in volleyball. I was a graduate assistant in baseball.
Oh.
And somehow I convinced her to marry me.
Right.
So my wife, she's the humble one of the family, but she played volleyball at the University of Iowa.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Yeah. And then transferred to Tulsa. And then
Holy smokes.
we became, we were GAs together at Olivet Nazarene University. And then from there, made a couple stops and ended up in 2000, because I'll get to the good parts. In 2006, I think, a legend Denny Jerome calls me.
Yeah.
You legend, yes.
The legend calls me and wants to know if I want to interview for the head baseball job. And again, it's all about connections because I knew Dave Schrag.
Oh, yeah.
Dave Schrag,
Yes.
And honestly, because Dave Schrag spoke highly of me,
Yep.
that's probably what got me on the map.
That's great.
So then I interviewed there, and I'm at Waldorf for 5 years. Loved it here.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing, though, I still had a passion to be a baseball coach, and we didn't have that beautiful turf facility yet.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
It was tough to get games in and stuff. And so when that job in Kentucky opened up, University of Pikeville, I was like, it'd be kind of nice to play home baseball games in February.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So did that, and then then went to Judson University as the AD and baseball coach, and did that for 4 years. And now I'm back here.
So, probably a dumb question, but college baseball is so challenging, particularly the further north you go. It's just most of the time the guys are traveling. It's you start hitting the road maybe in late January, early February. You're going anywhere else, but clearly not playing here. And it's because of the school year, but it seems so unfortunate that you can't play college sports in the summer.
Well, you're speaking my language right now. Now,
Yeah.
no one will listen to me except maybe you guys.
Of course.
But I would love to get the college baseball season, especially for NAI, starting around maybe March.
Yeah.
And then run the national championship into June.
Yep.
But they keep telling me presidents would never go for it. I kind of think presidents would go for it if someone would allow me to speak, because it's a really unfair, we're shoving 7 baseball games in a week.
Yeah.
I mean, the teams down in Florida are playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Yep.
9, 9, 9. We're playing 7, 9, 7, 9.
Yeah.
And playing another. And if anyone thinks that's a fair advantage, they just lost their mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, and our baseball team, the record's not unbelievable, but they've really hit a hot streak the last couple of weeks. And I honestly believe it's like now they finally got it going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've been in a gym for 3 months.
Yep.
And that's no fault to anybody.
Yeah.
It's just, it is what it is. But so to say there's not an advantage with weather, it's.
Yeah, you can have a turfed field, which we do, and that makes the outfield's not turfed, but I mean it's still it's nice to have the infield done, and the weather doesn't really affect it too much. I mean, it can still affect the outfield, but I mean if there's snow and you're not doing anything.
Well, we're always going to be thankful for what we have, and that facility with that turf that probably gets us 2 weeks ahead of groups that don't have a turf infield.
Right.
So we're thankful, and we're kind of like the southern team in the league in baseball, other than Bellevue. So Valley City and Presentation played at our field last weekend.
Yeah. It's got to be tough for them. I mean, because they still have snow on the ground up there.
I don't think a couple of those teams in North Dakota will see a home game this year.
Wow.
That's tough. Yeah, and I suppose, you obviously, you have a lot of close relationships in our conference and the North Star, and I'm sure that those ADs are like, Coach, can you help us out? Can we come down and play on your field?
Well, and we do, and it's more baseball coaches to baseball coaches, but and they're just always looking for creative ways to get games in.
Yeah.
I mean, I did run into. Of course, this is the Gridiron podcast, and we're all about the Waldorf football program and maintaining the best small college football experience in America. But I did run into Joe Tauges. Yeah, I always have a hard time saying his name because it looks like it should be
spelled funny.
Spelled correctly. I say it wrong or whatever. I saw Joe. We were walking into Baumgart's, and it was actually the day of our football, the first home game, which is always the community night, and it's where obviously most of the games are pretty well attended at home. That's a big one because everybody comes out. The weather's usually fantastic. There's fireworks and so forth. And I said, well, Joe, have you ever have you ever thought about any type of community type night or whatever? And we talked about that, how bad, it's spring weather and, it's hard to predict and all of that. And I agreed. And then And then, what we have the advantage of is because of our location and our co-location for our gridiron and the tailgating and everything like that. It's really hard to do at the baseball field, which we are fortunate to share with the local school district. So, you're not going on there and tailgating, although he claims that some of the hockey players do, but I don't know if that's true or not.
True
yeah, that wouldn't be true, but
No way.
but
that has not happened.
but I said, well, Joe, there's got to be a place that we could go off and have almost like an exhibition game, and then be later in the year. And I said, why not go over to Bancroft? That's an historic field. They've already got a liquor license over there, and you just create the event. And I think that he thought that was a good idea. It was too late that season to get it going, but I hope that they do that in the future, because parents love to see their kids play. The community will support whatever is in front of them if they know about it. And I feel like you're not going to get the every home game experience because of the location, but there's certainly an opportunity for something like that, I feel.
Sure.
No, I like that idea. And going back to the football and what do we say? It's the greatest.
The best small college football experience in America.
And I believe that. And what our you just love Waldorf, you love Forest City.
Yep.
We'd like to get that all across the board.
Yeah.
Now, again, location and time of the year and all that stuff, it lines up perfectly for Saturday afternoons at Waldorf Field. But I'd like to get that carrying on into the winter and in the spring.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's great about, over there in Bancroft too.
Well, I do notice that I do announce some of the basketball games. I don't do it every game, but sometimes I'll fill in, and it's nice to see the other teams supporting the basketball team. We do get a lot of people from the community that come out and watch the Warriors play, men and women's and basketball. Some great games there, but not as many as we want, and so we still have some work to do there. So I agree. There's a lot of work to do to get everybody in, and that's what the Gridiron Club does for the football team. We kind of look at it like, here you've got the biggest. You've got the largest program on campus. So we look at it like, if we can help a program that we take the biggest program and we can really lean into that, and if we can help make that more successful, that's going to help the whole organization succeed, and then people are going to be driven to continue to support Waldorf athletics overall.
You got it right on. That's exactly how it works. I remember when I was at the University of Pikeville, and they had I was trying to build a baseball program, and they had a national championship basketball program. They just came off the national championship. And I think sometimes there's a tendency to go, well, they got everything. And no, we need to use their successes and help it with us. So we took recruits to the basketball games.
Yeah.
Our baseball players were on the sidelines cheering, because success begets success. I mean, that's how it works.
Right.
So,
very true.
So Troy, you're speaking my language. That's exactly what we want to happen and needs to happen.
Well, and there is a camaraderie between athletes in college, and you see that because the football players, there's 120, 130 of them, and they're going to come out and support these other programs, but they're also the same programs that they're brushing shoulders with in the weight room, the sharing facilities. They obviously see each other in class. It's a common discussion point. Oh yeah, what do you play? I'm a volleyball player, I'm a basketball player, whatever. I mean, it's all of that is there. So there is a camaraderie, probably a little competition, good-hearted competition too, but there's that camaraderie. And so I'm glad to see that. We just need to, continue to build with the momentum that we keep getting with the football program and help these other programs as well.
Yeah, and one of the things, the missions here at the Gridiron Club, is that football is an extremely expensive sport for any school, whether high school, university, college, doesn't really matter. And one of the things that the Gridiron is really committed to is to try to provide some of those things that any program would like to have, but not every program can afford. And that's really one of the things that we're trying to do. And while we're focused on the football program, and being able to provide some things and some benefits to our student athletes, the reality is that let's free up some money, so that the university in turn can be more successful. However that has to happen. And that's really one of the things that we're trying to focus on. And, we're looking at doing some corporate things, I think, not here on the podcast, but we need to have some offline conversations about how the University Athletic Department and the Gridiron Club can partner in trying to offer some packages and things like that. Because obviously we're not going to come in and say the Gridiron Club is going to do this for the university. We obviously need the blessing of the university, because at the end of the day, Chase Paramore.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this is the university's program. It's not the Gridiron Club's program.
Right.
And we very well understand that.
120 years this year for Waldorf, and that's just so impressive. We've seen Iowa Wesleyan, which is 181 years old, go the way of the dodo, unfortunately. And then prior to that, in our conference, we saw presentation have to take a bow out and leave the and close their doors at the end of the school year. So it's so important for the community in which we live in our region that we have this 4-year institution that is 120 years old and still going, and has had its ups and downs, but has been able to keep things going. And so we really do look at it, Chad, as a community service. As like, if we can take some of the pressure off the plate by supporting the largest program, and that makes some of the other programs succeed, helps them with their recruiting, that is good for butts and seats at the university. And we really want that to continue to grow and develop.
Well, and that's what makes this community special. It is sobering when you see these universities and colleges shutting down. Because we're in higher ed, and we're small liberal arts university, and but the thing is that you can always sense that the community really values our relationship, and that makes me feel good. And so everything you're saying is right on. And I think we're in a really good place, but we've had those ups and downs, and we've learned from our downs, and we can't make the same mistakes over, So we got some really good things going. And one of those things is we have great community support.
For sure.
Well, and that's what we say with the Gridiron. We've seen that on this program for the last couple of years. We were really hitting it hard at the first season of it, and we were just saying, you can go to, there's nothing wrong with being a Hawkeye fan or a Cyclone fan or any of these other places and go, and visiting them. But why would you travel 2-3 hours away, and make that your regular, weekend when you got to drive that far back and all that, and, and just the hassle of the traffic, when you can come and spend a great afternoon, you can spend all day, you can tailgate all you want, you're close to home, you've got all your friends and neighbors around with you. And what we've seen in the last few years is exactly that. We see lots of people that are just, apparently no real connection to Waldorf, and they're just coming to enjoy the day and root on the team. And the good thing is the last few years, it's been pretty fun to watch, because they've also been, pretty hard pounders on the gridiron itself, which is good.
No, you're right on. I'll be honest, it's an awesome experience, and I'm working it all day. I get a little jealous. I was like, I'd like to be flipping burgers. Well, you're working too, though.
I know it.
But you get a little.
We're all working. He's on the sideline. I'm up in the. Believe me, it's really hard not to pass that those tailgating, because everybody, and they're like, "Hey, come on over here," and I'm like, "Well, I would really like to." Because but I have to be able to say some of these names, and I don't know if you've seen the roster this week, but
and so our dream is to get that press box up there, air conditioned and perfectly.
Yeah, now you're talking my language.
For Troy,
that's all about Troy.
Yeah, we'll put that on. We'll put that on the gridiron to make it all about Troy.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Very nice of you. Any improvements is good.
Yeah, but it is a great experience, and my first go around, we didn't have that.
Right.
And then when I came, my first community night in 2000 would have been fall 2019, and we're playing Briarcliff. Coach Littrell was the head coach.
Yeah,
and it was rocking. And, Z had like a flyover come by, and I was like, man, what's
What's going on?
Yeah.
I'm the director of athletics over this. This is great.
Yeah.
And of course, I took credit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome. You're
Yeah,
welcome.
Yep, exactly.
This is my vision.
That's right.
Yeah. Where's Bob Alsop? Hey,
Yeah,
Bob,
that is
enjoy
great.
the flyover. You're welcome. So, game day experience for you, Coach. What's obviously there's a billion different things going on in the background. I only see it from the team's point of view and the things that I know that need to get done. Pre-game, post-game, and stuff like that. But what are some of your tasks? At least related to football on a game day.
Well, I appreciate you asking that, and I really need to we talk about shout outs. I have probably one of the best support staffs around, and part of that support staff is your coaches helping out too.
Right.
But Jenna Quina, who's operations, and Callie Schmidt and Rosie Allman, our sports information director, and John Cabral, our associate athletic director, who has a lot to do with the sports information stuff and the game administration, and Kyle Swiderski, who's our bowling coach, but also our event management, who just puts in countless hours. So, you look good because they're so good at their job. But we're, Saturday morning, they're setting up the field, getting it ready. And then we want to provide a great experience, not just for us, but we want to make sure when the bus rolls in, they know where they're going.
Yeah.
We don't want officials driving all around Forest City trying to find out where they're dressing. Like, we want the game day. We want to be first class in everything we do.
Yep.
So that takes work. So if game day's at 2:00, we're getting going at 8:00, 9:00. Now, when I had Ryan Flickinger as assistant athletic director, he'd start his day about 4 a.m. I thought that was a little bit maybe, but
That's Flick.
But that's Flick.
So what he's going to do.
Yeah. So, hurry up and wait. He was really, but he got it done, So no. And then, so there's field set up. Then there's that, is the mic working and the scoreboard working? There's always that, you've done all that all week, making sure everything's working. But then sure enough, we haven't had any major glitches, but there has been weeks where it's Wednesday and the play clock isn't working.
Oh, geez.
Oh, now you're calling Daktronics and so that, there's football especially, but all game days as a director of athletics, you're always you have some angst because you want the event to go right. And so, and then there's things you don't expect that can be thrown out there. So.
Like rain.
Yeah.
Things like that. That was one Kyle had as the event coordinator for the university. He was always the guy that I'd always get with him in the morning. I usually get to the DJAC about 6 a.m. so I can go back to the locker room, make sure everything's set up for our guys and they have everything that they need before anybody gets there. And then I could be there for an hour and a half by myself and just do my thing and then go home. And it's usually like, well, let's see, kicks at 1. Let's see, I should probably be there. You know what? I'm just going to shower and go now because you can't shut it off. I just want to be there when everybody gets there just to make sure that our student athletes, our coaches, those little things that you're talking about, Coach, let's make sure that we get this done. Let's make sure we have this and all those other things.
Let me ask you guys something. Do you guys like the 1:00 games, the 4:00 games, or the 6:00 games? I have an opinion, and it's strictly from the anxiety of the day. It's like, I like the 1:00 game because it's like, let's get it going.
Yeah.
I like it because I'm not dragging home at 10:45.
Yeah.
Because usually after everything's done, again, with my role, it's like, make sure nothing's left on the field, make sure nobody leaves gloves, equipment, anything like that. Make sure we have everything in where it needs to belong so it doesn't grow legs and walk off. And then after that's all done, I check in with the coaches, like, do you need anything else from me? Go down to the locker room one last time. Guys, is everybody square? And then I'll go over to the tailgate just to kind of say hi to everybody and try to glad hand. But when it's a 6:00 kick, and that doesn't happen till 9:30, 10 o'clock. It's like, I just want to go home and go to bed.
Right.
I'm old.
Well, there's a value to all of them. I mean, the 6 o'clock is the community, and I think that's the only one that we do. It is nice that we can do games under the lights because there are actually, I don't know anymore, but I mean, like there are teams in the district in the conference that can't do that. So we're fortunate that we've got all of those facilities, and it is nice to bring the community out. It's also cooler when we do that. I mean, it's you're talking about the last week, the end of August is still it can still be pretty warm. So it's nice to come out when things cool off, and you get into September, the first couple of weeks, it can still be hot. So those 4 o'clock games are nice too. But after that, I think everything is a 1 o'clock game, and we've even done promos on this program where we've put together, when just the clips from the different conversations we've had, and they'll say, well, when you walk on that field at 1 o'clock, and I mean, so that is kind of the time. I think it's also probably a little bit better for the team. They all have a routine. They get up, in the morning, and they kind of get in their head and what they need to do. They got the warrior walk. They got their meetings. They got all of those things. You've got recruits coming in and all that stuff. So there's a lot of moving pieces on a game day, and I think that it is nice to get it done. And by 4 o'clock, I'm back over and talking to the guys in the tailgate area. There's
a relief about it. Okay, yeah. Now we can. Usually, you're hoping to enjoy a win.
Yep.
And then,
how much influence do you have on game time versus what the conference wants to do based on travel?
So. This is going to sound confusing, but so the conference sets the times.
Oh, okay.
But then there's caveats. And hey, we got homecoming. Could we push it to 2? Or hey, another thing we try to do is the teams. There's only a couple teams in the league that can do it, but so if we're playing Dakota State or Dakota State's playing us, and we can make it a day trip, not a night overnighter, to save budget money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
So we'll adjust times that way. So, you can't expect Dakota State to play at a 1 o'clock game. That means they got to get up at, real early. So you push it to 3 or 4 so you can get here at a reasonable time. Then, get back at a reasonable time.
Yeah, we played them in the middle of the night it felt like, because we played them under the lights their last game up at, I don't know what their field was called, but
It was cold too, wasn't it?
It was very cold, Coach. I don't travel with the team very much, but when I went to 2 or 3 games this year, I traveled with him. In that game, I had hand warmers in my gloves. I had hand warmers in my boots. I went out and bought like 5 or 6 packages of hand warmers just to hand out, and Coach Finley made sure that they had plenty of that too.
The boys and I were going to go down. We were going to go over to Madison and watch that game. And then I looked at the temperature. I was like, that's a great thing as director of athletics. When I was a baseball coach, you had to play in awful. But now you go, it's cold.
I don't blame you a bit. Yeah, that wasn't very much fun for a lot of different reasons. That game, some of our fantastic seniors, they didn't go out on the note that you were hoping, and that's fine. That's why we play the game. There's going to be a winner, there's going to be a loser, and it was just a little bit tough that game. And I'll tell you what, that field was. I'm glad they're tearing it up. I got to say, and they're going to have a beautiful facility. I'm looking forward to seeing that. But boy, that was because they used to have trees over on the north side, and it was a north wind. They're like, they tore them out because they're doing a construction project.
So it was windy, and the ground was hard, and it was cold.
Yeah, it sure was.
Well, so there's obviously some things that are going to change. And with the conference, there's some things you probably can discuss and other things that you can't, and that's fine. There's a lot of questions from, the fans of Waldorf football. They look at and they go, okay, well, if you take 2 away, I mean, that means, what does our schedule even look like? And I don't think the schedule's been published yet or anything. But
well, breaking news.
Okay, all right.
I mean, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
The schedule was approved today, so it'll be released. And really, it's not the greatest solution, but it's kind of like one of the only solutions right now. 4 months until the first game.
Yeah, a rock and a hard place.
We got 5 teams in the North Star that can play football, so we're going to play 4 teams twice, and I think we can all sit here and go, that's not ideal.
Right.
I mean, we can't go, oh, that's great. What a great idea.
Yeah.
You're a military guy. And I read a book called Extreme Ownership by a couple Navy SEAL guys. And they say sometimes, sometimes there is not a good idea. You got to have your best worst idea.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm not, if Roger Turnus, the commissioner's listening to this, but I think we all that's not ideal, but we know this, we have a schedule. We don't have to go all over the country trying to find football games.
Right.
But, I mean, and again, you got to be careful what you say, but I don't think we can sit here and go, this is just a great idea for years to come. I think we got to look at other ideas. What those are at this point, I don't know. I can totally discuss, but hey, we know we got a football schedule. We know we got a good football team.
Yeah, we do.
We're going to compete.
Yeah.
And, and I know there's been a couple things like, darn it, that and this, but,
well, and who would have guessed a year ago that Presentation was going to shut her up, and then Iowa Wesleyan do the same thing, and that, I mean, that throws a wrench in. It puts us, it puts our university at a slight disadvantage. When you're just looking, and obviously we don't know the specifics, but the reality is that we're now in a football conference with 4 state schools. They're subsidized by North Dakota and South Dakota, and that's great. And we're a private university, and so that can make things a little more difficult. And the parity, I suppose, could change. When we had Presentation in there was a private school, and we had Iowa Wesleyan that was a private school, and so there was a pretty decent mix, 4 and 3, and that changes things a little bit. But
absolutely, no, I don't have to sit here and talk to you about the institutional profiles. They're different,
of course.
But we appreciate. We have a lot of loyalty towards the North Star. They've been good to us. But, it's also my job as director of athletics, moving forward, that there's a good plan in order. And I know all the ADs in that conference are thinking the same thing. I know the commissioners thinking that. So, I mean,
we just don't know what's going to happen.
I know you're going to be looking hard at it. Like you said, everybody's going to be looking hard at it. You want to do the best thing for your programs, plural, for all of your programs. You got to compete in all of your sports, and you got to be able to not only compete, you got to provide good competition for those athletes. They want to come and they want to play. So, regardless of whatever happens, whether the North Star adds teams or whatever. We have got to be able to promise our athletes high level of competition. That is just good for recruiting. And then it means something when you have, some bragging rights to say, well, we continue to be successful in this league or any other. And so that's something that, I kind of look at. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know that it's not always the worst thing to be even to be considered an underdog. I think that there's some great things about being, if in my mind, what the mind or the way of a warrior is that you're going to fight your way out of anything. And that's a cool thing to be able to say. So if whether it's this league or another in the future, whatever happens, if you come in and say, well, there's some stiff competition in here, like, great. As the guy who wrote that book is Jocko Willink. Yeah. And one of my favorite things that he says, and I don't listen to him a ton because he's a little extreme. He's really extreme, But I did listen. I'm listening to him enough, and I do appreciate him. He said he's a good. When something bad happens to you, you say good, and then that's how you see your way out of it. And so when something occurs, you go good. Now we've got the opportunity to play each team twice. Good. We've got the opportunity to get better because we've got, whatever. So if we just have that mentality, and I know that the coaches, they're going to work hard. They're not going to change the way that they do anything. They're going to keep, they're going to try to go get a ring, like they did last year. So, or tried to do last year. So that's, it doesn't bother me to be a small school in a league with high level of competition. And then you come out of there, and if you're always in the top half, you've got nothing to complain about. If you're always in the top third, even better.
Yeah.
One of the good things that, one of the challenges we had was with our men's and women's soccer program being independent because the North Star didn't have soccer.
Right.
So that was very challenging trying to find games. And we were in this independent, it's called the Continental, but there was no formal scheduling structure. And it's just, you'd play teams when they wanted to play you.
Yeah.
So we just got into the GPAC
Yes.
as associate members, and that's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
And it's great for our student athletes. It's great for our coaches. And it's talking about some of the stuff you're talking about.
Yeah. There's a little parity there with the school, a lot of private schools in the GPAC. We set up the interview and talked to you on the phone. A couple of boys, played for Upper Iowa, and they recently changed and they left the Northern Sun, and that was the same situation with just maybe a couple of privates, and everybody else was like a Minnesota State school, and some of those are arguably Division I AA. You could say Mankato's like, what are you doing? And it was just really tough to Mankato and Winona and Duluth, and things like that, and that's kind of what we're looking at to some degree, not necessarily of that scale. But there are other, things we have to take a look at, and we just know that you're going to be working hard to figure out whatever is best for the school.
Yeah. We look forward to what the future holds, and I agree with you, Coach, wholeheartedly that, hey, we got a schedule now, and we're going to go out there, and it doesn't matter if you're going to play Ferris State or Sister Mary School of the Blind.
Well, let's not play Ferris State.
That would have
Good.
That would
Good.
Yeah. Well, there was a good. It was like we played it. What did Chapa said? We played a solid quarter and a half, and it's like okay, well, the other 2.5 quarters they were really challenging.
Wasn't it 10-7 at one point or 10-3?
Yeah,
it was 10-3, and then it should have been 10-7 Waldorf advantage, but they said that Vontae stepped out of bounds in that touchdown run.
Yeah.
I was starting to write the script for the movie.
Yeah, well, it was. Wouldn't that be Cinderella?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, those kids, nobody was looking like, this is going to be David and Goliath. It's just one of those things where we're going to go out there and show the world what we're made of, and they were. All of them were super excited. I remember talking to Jordan Cooper. I gave him a ride back to his residence hall one day, and it was right after the schedule dropped. And he and I were talking. He goes, well, I don't even know who we're playing this year. I said, you hadn't heard about Ferris? He's like, what? We get to. And he was so excited.
Yeah.
And of course, Coop's a competitor.
Yeah.
But he's not alone in that. I mean, we have 120 some competitors on that in that program, and man, they were super excited to go out there and show what they got. But we played the defending Division II national champions, and actually who ended up winning the darn thing again.
Well, and if you see the score in the national championship game, it was kind of similar to what I mean. It was I watched. They won big.
Yeah, they're tough. Coach Anise, from what Coach Finley said, is after the game, he said, "You guys gave us a run. The score doesn't reflect how well you guys played against us." And he knows he's got a program. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you've got like 4 or 5 guys that are legitimate NFL draft picks on your Division II roster, going up against an NAIA school that with a residential enrollment of about 600, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a great experience for the kids.
Yeah.
Would we do it again? I don't know. I think our new head coach would probably say, Coach, I don't think we're going to do that.
Yeah, Coach, I don't know.
Well,
but if you think that's what's best.
I think we could take a break from that. I think it was a good opportunity. You could do something like that every few years as long as the program sustains its momentum, sure. But it was definitely, I think it's a good experience for, like I said, once every few years so that most players have had that opportunity at least to experience it. But yeah, that's a challenge. And it's also that, in my opinion, that probably wasn't the best time on the schedule for them to experience that, just because they probably needed a little bit of time to enter the regular season and get strong. But they learned a lot. It was beneficial in a variety of ways, and that's good. Like you said, now we don't want to make that but it was good.
Well, my wife told me after the Fair State game, she goes, well, don't they know that Northwest Missouri State's only a 4.5 hour drive? I said, I would have a problem with that. Being an alum of Northwest Missouri State and a huge Bearcat fan, that's my Division II school. They're just underneath my Warriors.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, I'd have to wear some Bearcat gear.
Yeah.
I mean, under the purple.
Yeah. Well, that being
Something's
said,
cooking
though,
over there.
I
Something's
would
cooking,
be.
Troy.
I know that in the past we've tried to draw the peacocks over our way, and they kept bailing out for silly reasons.
I don't know about the Peacocks, but I will tell you during the pandemic year,
Yeah.
it wasn't Northwestern, but I think it was the D2 out of St. Joseph, Missouri Western.
Yeah, Mo West, yeah.
Yeah, I think, or was it Northwestern? It was one of those D2s called us and tried to get us down there, but there's just too many logistics. It was Thanksgiving weekend, and it just didn't work. But it was one of those D2 schools in Missouri.
Was it Coach Churchma? Was he your guy?
I was talking to the director of athletics. So
and I don't know if Mel's retired from that or not. He was the head football coach. A lot of success, turned that program around, and I guess I do want to go down a road with you a little bit about the football coaches. We had an unexpected change this year, and you guys, in my very humble opinion, made the right choice. I think that was great that you hired from within and gave us the youngest head football coach in the United States of America. But Chasen Paramore does not play like a 26-year-old young man. Yeah. So what was that like for you when you had to have that conversation with Coach Finley when he had finally made that decision that he was going to move his family?
Well, if we could backtrack a little bit, so I've been here with 3 football coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Littrell built it. And I mean, what did the fan experience, all that stuff we're talking about right now. And then, so as a director of athletics, I have to decide where's the program at and then what. So these decisions, I wouldn't say are easy, but they're easier because you go from Coach Littrell. Coach Finley's a defensive coordinator, comes from a great program and Benedictine. He knows how to do the gig. And so, and he's in the program's in a good spot.
Mm-hmm.
So to promote Coach Finley to head coach, that was it turned out to be a good decision.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of in the same thing, it's like, if we open up a national search, hey, what's this going to do to everything? The kids. And so Coach Paramore, again, comes from good programs.
Yes, he does.
Offensive coordinator for a program that's in a good place. So again, it's nice when you have the ability to hire within, and that's what I've been able to do with the football program. The last 2 hires, and I think it's going to be I
think it's a great choice. And in corporate America, for all the good and the bad, is some of the most successful institutions. If you're looking at the business world, they what they say is that grow your own, to try to get that next person up. That as you're, and we've said this time and time again on this podcast that we're just renting these guys. Our coaching staff, great guys. I wish we had a bunch of Dave Bolstorffs that are going to be here for 30 or 40 years, but the reality is that they have so much upside that we're going to keep them as long as we can. But the reality, again, with the carousel and coaches come and go, we know that someday these guys will probably move on to bigger and better things. Maybe not. But the reality is that how do you look down ladder and go, who's going to be our next guy, or is it even going to be a possibility?
Well, a couple things on that statement. Times are different. I don't think you're going to see the Coach Bolsdorfs and the Denny Jeromes that stay here for 30, 35 years. And that's not a symptom of anything. It's just, I think it's different.
Yeah,
I agree.
So yeah, that I think I'm not saying it can't happen,
sure,
but it could. Now to your other point, yeah, I think you said it. It's like if you want to grow within. So the plan, I mean, I don't know what the next step is, but yeah, you're hoping that we keep a solid foundation going on, and then you're hoping you can grow within. And if you can't, then you do what you got to do.
Yeah, there's always somebody out there looking for a job.
So,
and we have the luxury, and I don't know other programs. I really don't. And so I would like to think that they're all very similar in the fact that I know at Waldorf University, these kids are they play for Waldorf University. They're Warriors through and through, but they love, and not just, I'm talking capital letters, love their coaches. And it's because these coaches don't just commit to the craft of turning young men, these boys into young men and eventually productive members of society and good human beings. But just that idea of these coaches really, really caring about the person really changes things for everything.
And the reason is, and you two get it, it's not a job, it's a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not a lifestyle, and I tell our coaches this in the first meeting, if this isn't a lifestyle, if this is not a passion, you can do something else and make a lot more money.
Right.
And you should do that if it's not a lifestyle. But when it is a passion, it is a lifestyle. Yes, winning's important and all that stuff, but you're so invested.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if my wife was sitting here right now, there'd be times where, and I don't say this boastfully, but sometimes you're more invested in your team than sometimes your family, and then you got to get it back together.
There's a balance,
but there is a balance, and there needs to be a balance. At the Hall of Fame, Steve Kelly,
mm-hmm.
former wrestling coach here. He didn't mean to say it, but he said it was funny. And he was talking about Brad Stockton winning the national championship.
Yep.
And the way it came out was, it was exciting as his firstborn being born.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't mean it.
Yeah.
He said the feeling was the same. But when you invest in fashion, things like that come out.
Yeah.
Now because I don't want anyone to misinterpret what I'm saying. Well, your football team has to be more important than your family. No, that's not. No. That's not what I'm saying.
We know that.
But when it becomes a passion and part of your life and not a job, that's what those kids are going to feel.
Yeah.
Sure.
Brad Stockton's birthday today, actually, recording this on a Wednesday. So it is his birthday from what my Facebook notifications tell me. So that's good.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. So that's funny that you brought Brad up. All of the athletes, well, maybe not all of them, I would say a great majority of the athletes that we've talked to on this program in the last year and a half have been pretty much unanimously impressed with Waldorf as a home. And that is saying something, considering that some of these kids have bounced around from several programs, and they would know. If they would know if they've bounced around from a few programs and they've been here for more than one season, is I guess my point. And the ones that we've talked to have been. So they, I think about Twan Collymore, like I love Waldorf, I sleep in the locker room if I have to, I love Waldorf. I'll never leave, and so then he had been to a couple of the programs before. And so whatever it is, and to each. And then that's just the way it is. But I think every coach knows that. Parents need to understand that. Players hopefully understand it, and a lot of times they don't. They're bedazzled by whatever it is that's in front of them, and they go, "Well, this is really amazing," and then they find out that they don't fit in there. It's not what they thought. There's not the relationship that they were expecting with their coaches, and so that is why Waldorf is special. And we say it all the time, but it does bring people in, and we'd love for them all to graduate and get a job here in the North Iowa area, southern Minnesota, and attend the games and continue to contribute and come back to the community and all of that. We recognize that is not the case, that they're going to go to all corners of the country and in some cases the planet. But what we think that they will do, and we think we've seen it, is that they'll take just a little bit of North Iowa with them. And so that's why it's so important for us to have a strong tailgate session, not just because of what the fun things that happen there, but because that community support. Those are our kids while they're here for a few years. Those are our, that they represent us, and we take care of them. And wherever they go, this place has to be a special part of who they are.
And I think we have a mission, not even as a university, but as a community, to pour into these kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they come from all different backgrounds, and we have an opportunity to pour into them, invest into them, and so we need to be thankful that we get that opportunity.
For sure.
We were 18 years old at one time. We made mistakes. We did some things, and we need to. Hey, this is how it needs to be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I didn't have to be 18 to make mistakes.
you're still making them.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
A list of them. You bet.
No, and one of the things that I think is a huge indicator of the staff that we have here is the amount of kids we talk to on this podcast and just out in the community, in the locker room, on the field, and things like that. How many of those kids want to be coaches because they want to impact lives of young people the way that their life was impacted by these men that are leading them, giving them some skills to be successful on the field, but ultimately, and Coach Paramore and all the other coaches have said it time and time again, yeah, we want you to be good football players. Yeah, we want you to be successful on the football field. But what we really want you to do is we want you to be good husbands and good fathers and good workers and good people. That's what's mostly important to our coaching staff. And I'm sure that's not just a football thing. I know that's probably true throughout, Coach Evenho, the head volleyball coach, she has that passion for her kids.
She does a great job.
She's a wonderful human.
Her kids,
wonderful human being. Yeah, Bree and Matt are great.
You talk about these other programs. I've had the opportunity, by the way, to announce for volleyball too. I did that twice, and they never asked me back. It's so much faster, and I'm so dumb when it comes to volleyball that I was they're like, thank you, really good. But
I don't. I think you read that wrong. I think they like you there.
Well, I know they are very good. They're very kind, but I do agree with jumping back about 20 minutes ago, talking about your support staff, what you've got going on over there at the field house, and the people that make all of these game days happen. There's so many sports that we have at Waldorf, and you talk about John, and you talk about what Rosie, and like just the sports information. Like it takes a tremendous amount, and sometimes we give them a little bit of guff here on this show. It was like, absolutely. What's up with the information being wrong, or this isn't quite right, or gosh, who did we have? Was it Nate, or who knows? The one before when we were talking about stats.
Oh, that was Edwan.
Yeah, Edwan. Yeah. We had Edwan works on. And we're like, well, it looks like you played. And I was like, I had the stats up on the TV, and I was like, well, it looks like you played every game except for you must not have played at Ferris State. And he's like, well, I played. I was at Ferris. I was like, well, you didn't have any stats. And he's like, oh, I definitely had.
That's wrong.
So we give him guff, but I can tell you from being up in the box that they are, a lot of times they're going from one thing to another. So like John will, he will send me the script. Rosie will send me some things. I might get some things on a Wednesday prior to the game. I might get some things Friday. I might get some things Saturday morning. But you can count on them. It's set up, and I know that they are working hard because I think homecoming, I don't know which game it was. Maybe it wasn't even homecoming, but John had been, I think, in 3 different places. There was hockey going on. There was some soccer stuff that was happening. I think the volleyball team was doing some things, and then he's got football. And it's like we were just a little bit after everything else and some things. So I didn't, like, he was printing off the script and handing it to me as I was essentially reading it. And it was just because of the million things that they've got going on. But no doubt in my mind that they've always got it figured out, and things are going to be pretty smooth, and they're really easy to work with, and they do make it. And the other thing is that's up there in that box people don't realize too is we have Warrior Sports too. So like, what Mark Newcomb does with the kids over at KZOW and just the effort that goes into that. I mean, that's just a fun part of the game experience and the things that they do.
Well, you make so many good points, and it depends on people like you helping with the announcing and the chain gang. Like there's so many little details that go into a game day when you want it done right. And, we have our staff meeting every Monday morning at 9:00, and we go over the events of the week. Mm-hmm. And there's times where it's overwhelming. Hockey and football.
Right.
And they're like, how are we going to do it? And, and you cannot not do it. You got to do it. So, we get our brains together and try to figure out what we're going to do and ask different people. And that's where the community comes. We have so many great people in the community that will help at basketball games. So, but I really appreciate you acknowledging it. And yeah, there's times where we might get a stat wrong, or we just had a website change. We just totally switched.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, looks good.
So that's been causing a little bit of heartburn because not everything's been transferred over. And, and there's the biggest critic is me.
Yeah.
Hey, why do we not have this person's picture on it? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? They're like, this guy, well,
Yeah.
he's learned how to work it. Yeah. It's fun to be the boss.
Yeah,
Just,
right.
Yeah.
They're probably muttering like, "Who showed him how to use a computer today? Like, when did that happen?"
Right. Why did he have to hit power?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a great job, and I do appreciate all of the work that goes into it. And it is fun to see everything come together. There is just, don't want to dwell on it, but I guess we are. But just like, you got to have people working the concession stands. You got people working the gates. I am part of the text messages on the other side, off the team, just on the sports, the game management stuff. And there's probably 30 people on that text stream just trying to get, and it's kids and me and whatever. And people are checking in and when they got to be there. And it's an incredible ship to steer. And it's always fun when it always comes together. And, as long as the coaches walk out when they're supposed to, so like that's the other. I will tell you this from when knowing how many moving pieces there are on a Saturday game day and how many things have occurred, and there is a schedule and the coaches do their part, and then there's the person who sings the national anthem. We always do a great job singing the national anthem, and just like all of these pieces have occurred, and all we need now in order to push this one button so that they can do their entrance song is I need to like lean as far out as I can to say, nope, they haven't left D-Jack yet. So we're going to make some announcements here. I want to thank our corporate sponsors. Once again, Pritchard Auto Stores, like whatever, because it's just, but then when they start rolling out and as long as those kids have the experience where it's a live stadium, the music is playing, they get to hear their names, their families there, the crowd is with them, then it's easy to win.
And that was,
well, I don't know if it's easy to win.
well, no, I'll tell you this. So Jenna and Ryan Flickinger would always say this. Our goal is on game day, and this, I wasn't saying it. They're saying they don't want the coaches. Now, coaches will worry about things when they're not in season. We do not want the coaches to worry about any of that stuff on game day. We don't want the players. We want them to focus on having a great game.
Yeah.
Then, so that's on us. And I really appreciate that attitude.
Yeah. One of the things I've always said is there's always somebody on the football team, whether it's a GA or a student assistant or even one of the assistant coaches that will stand there by the clock on their watch, waiting for the halftime timer to start so that they can start it, because that's the one person that all the coaches, how much time we got?
Right.
Because they're in the locker room, the guys they're taking a little nutrition and hydration and everything. You got the training staff, the strength staff, everybody's going through everything. They're talking about schemes and what we're going to do second half and all this other stuff's going on. And I've always thought, Waldorf live streams. Why don't we just tell the camera guy, pan over to the scoreboard and just let it sit there during halftime, and we could put it in the damn locker room.
Yeah.
Because we talked about,
all right, good solution. I'll write that down.
We're doing it.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things you don't know, Coach, is that Troy and I have had plenty of conversations. There's actually an episode that we talked about. We would love the Gridiron Club to raise a bunch of money to redo our locker room. That's obviously not something that we could do, again, in a vacuum, in a bubble, and just say, hey, guess what we're going to do? That would obviously have to be a lot of involvement from different aspects of the university, between obviously the athletic department, maintenance, facilities, all those folks, so that, we could go in. But that's one of the things that Troy, like in the locker room, there's this old gray piece of plastic that's screwed into the sheetrock. And a couple times a year, I try to find new screw holes to keep it to stay, because it falls down every now and then. But that's where we write our schedule on. Mm-hmm. And Troy and I were talking about it. I said, why don't we just put a TV up there?
Yeah.
Now it's going to get broke. We know that. I mean, somebody's going to get like, oh, geez, I didn't know that was there, getting knocked off the wall or whatever. But yeah, something like that where here's your game day schedule, fellas.
Yeah, we've got lots of wish lists. Any wish lists that have, I mean, every program's got wish lists. What have you heard that caught your ear from the football program?
Well, honestly, our football team is very self-sufficient. They don't say a lot. They're appreciative of what they have, but locker room, press box, a big need we have, not just for football, but all of our sports and the community is it'd be nice to get some form of outdoor facility, a dome or whatever you could use where you can run track, practice baseball, football, that would be a wish list of mine.
Yeah.
So if you two could figure out how to make that happen.
Well, let me tell you, Coach.
I've seen plans for it.
It's pretty rare, but I do on occasion buy like a Powerball ticket or a Mega Millions.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'll tell you what, if I ever hit a big jackpot, which is not going to happen, but because I play like twice a year.
Yeah.
But if I ever would, the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to have a beautiful football stadium. We're going to do a hockey arena somewhere on campus close by. I don't know. I'm thinking about spending about $40 to $50 million by the time it's all said and done. And it's going to be, we're going to have an indoor track. We're going to have,
be beautiful. Just imagine.
Buffington.
No.
Oh, yeah, it would be
Buffington.
Stadium, Bolstor Field, and BB Track. You got the Better Business Bureau of Waldorf Athletics right there.
No, I would not.
B's.
I'll tell you what, it would not be named after me. It would not have my name on it whatsoever.
Name it after
No, I'd
your
name
dad,
it after my.
Yeah.
I'd name it after my grandmother.
There you go. So I got a couple of questions. We're going to switch to some good stuff as we near our full hour here. But like so you obviously got a big heart for baseball. And you were a southpaw pitcher, probably still are technically.
Baseball.
So who is?
You said softball.
Did I say softball?
Southpaw.
Southpaw. I thought you said softball.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm not. I mean,
Yeah. Very similar.
Yeah.
They don't have cages on their face, but
well, but if you got a bad shoulder, I mean,
I
Go
thought
on,
that's maybe what he meant.
Yeah.
that's kind of what I thought.
I said southpaw.
Yeah.
You guys, I'll go back. I'll do the editing.
Anyway.
We'll see how this comes out. Who is your favorite? Do you have a favorite major league pitcher?
Well, I have a favorite baseball player, and that's George Brett. Number
Okay.
5, third baseman, Royals, big Kansas City Royals fan. We don't have a lot to cheer for right now.
no.
We're already out of the pennant race.
You just started.
April, it's just April. But no, pitchers, I liked Roger Clemens.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And whether, whatever you want to think about all that, Roger Clemens, Nolan Ryan,
Yeah.
Randy Johnson.
Randy Johnson.
Yeah.
Naming all right-handers, but Randy's a left-hander, but loved Tom Glavine, Greg Maddux,
Yeah.
Kurt Schilling.
Mm-hmm. My son-in-law used to work for the Royals.
Okay.
Yeah. He's a parking lot attendant.
All right. Hey, Kaufman Field. That's not a
I know. I tell you what, that's a beautiful facility. Absolutely love any chance.
Well, they've
you
done
get
a lot of
Kaufman.
work to it.
That's gorgeous.
Recent. I mean, not in the last several years or whatever. And when I went there 15 years ago, it wasn't as beautiful as it is now. Same stadium, just they've done a lot of work to it, and all of the stuff you can do to walk around and the kids and everything like that. It really is fun to go to a Royals game.
I was at
Especially when
Kaufman.
the Twins are playing.
I was at Kaufman a couple of years ago with my son-in-law. We decided on a Saturday we got some left field seats, and it's like, well, it's a day where it's only probably about kind of like today, but without the wind.
Mm-hmm.
It was like in the upper 80s, lower 90s, and I finally said, look, I need to go find something cold to drink. So we went up to where Boulevard has their little observation deck, and standing there, we each got a couple adult beverages and watching the action on the field, and a guy pulled a foul, and it's like it just disappeared over the upper deck and came down and bashed the wall about 2 feet underneath me.
Wow.
And of course, you didn't see anything. All you see is you just hear the bam, and scared the living bejesus right out of me. But yeah, Kaufman's a beautiful facility.
How'd you become a Royals fan if you were from the Pennsylvania area?
Well, I mean, if you want to hear the whole story, I was born in Kansas City. We're Kansas City people, and then my dad moved us when I was 8 years old to the Northeast.
Okay.
And then was there until I graduated high school. But my roots are Kansas City. So I'm a huge Chiefs fan, and no, it's not, all of a sudden I'm a Chiefs fan.
Yeah.
I was a Chiefs fan when Bill Kinney was the quarterback.
All right.
Elvis Gerbach. I mean,
yeah.
of course you're
about
a Chiefs
Elvis.
fan. Yeah, of course you're a Chiefs fan. Now they got
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes. No, I was
Yeah.
a Chiefs fan when they had Elvis Gerbach.
Lynn Dawson, one of the most iconic photos of anything Super Bowl I. Len Dawson is sitting
right.
at halftime, and he's got, I don't remember the brand of soda sitting by his feet. He's having a soda and a cigarette at halftime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought, but
A little different back then.
yeah, nowadays it'd be like, and Len Dawson is promoting smoking.
Yeah. And soda. Yeah.
And
Right.
whatever soda.
Yeah.
No,
that's
and
awesome.
I don't know if you ever listened to Chiefs games when he was the commentator, color commentator.
Oh, yeah.
He was negative. Like, oh, what are they doing? It was awesome. No, he could say whatever he wanted to say. Yeah.
Well, Coach, we're going to get things wrapped up here. We appreciate you stopping, but what we do to all of our guests, or what we do for all our guests, is give you the opportunity to leave us with any final thoughts.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I really appreciate what you're doing for Waldorf University and this community, and this is awesome. And just thank you.
No, it's absolutely our pleasure. I can't speak for Troy, but I know it's definitely mine.
Yes, it definitely is.
I know it is, Troy.
You bet.
All right. Well, we want to thank Coach Chad Gassman, the athletic director for Waldorf University, for sharing himself a little bit here. And hopefully you folks got a little to be able to shed some more light on what he has to do on a day-to-day, and not just football games, but he's got a full plate all day, every day. And we appreciate the work that you and your staff do to make things very, very seamless for us, the fans, here at Waldorf University. So, well, we're going to wrap things up. Again, everybody, thanks so much for listening to the Waldorf Gridiron Club podcast. For Troy Thompson, this is Andy Buffington. And forever and always, go Warriors. You can join the Waldorf Gridiron Club today by sending a check to the Waldorf Gridiron Club, P.O. Box 125, Forest City, Iowa, 50436.
Or message us by visiting and like our Facebook page, Waldorf Gridiron Club, or email us at waldorfgridironclub@gmail.com.
Or it's as easy as clicking on the Support the Show link on your phone. Become a patron of the Gridiron Club by choosing to support the program monthly. $100 is the Black membership at $9 a month.
The $250 level is purple at $25 a month.
$500 is the Warrior membership at $45 a month.
The all-conference level is $750 or $65 a month.
$1,000 is the All-American membership at $85 a month.
The champion level is $125 a month, and that's $1,500 a year.
$2,500 is the Hall of Fame membership.
The Waldorf Gridiron Club podcast is hosted by Andy Buffington and me, Troy Thompson. Produced by Sunnyside Farmstead Studios in beautiful rural Forest City, Iowa. The music is by Christian Leo. The Waldorf Gridiron Club is a nonprofit 501c3 organization dedicated to football student athletes of Waldorf University. Our mission is to assist the program in maintaining the best small college football experience in America.